And I was on the guilty side of mistreating a number of patients. I'd see a patient who I thought there was something wrong, and I did a good workup, and it was all benign. And then I was faced with a dilemma. I had to confess to the patient that I had no idea of what was going on, and that's very uncomfortable to do. Moreover, I'm afraid maybe I'll get sued. If I'm missing a cancer, I'm going to get sued.
CFS patients represent, in a sense, kind of the physician's worst nightmare, because diseases such as multiple sclerosis, lupus, Lyme disease, these diseases are all things that sit in the back of my mind, and I'm always wondering, is this a case of multiple sclerosis that looks like a case of CFS that I am misdiagnosing?
Faced with the enormous costs of medical care, CFS patients have turned to their insurance companies for help.
There are numerous problems involving medical insurance for people with CFS. On the one hand, if a person applies for health insurance at a time that he or she has already been diagnosed with CFS, the insurance company won't issue the policy. On the other hand, if the person comes down with CFS after he or she's taken out the policy, but during the waiting period, the insurance company will say, you had a pre-existing condition which we won't insure. Or the insurance company will suggest you don't have a pre-existing condition, but all of the medical treatments that you've suggested you want it paid for are experimental, and we don't cover experimental treatments. In addition, they have trouble getting Social Security disability or SSI disability and Medicaid and Medicare. If they can't get those, or the funding of those is inadequate, or don't pay for the treatments they need, then they can easily become homeless. They can't pay their rent, they're out on the street.
CFS advocates say they are confronting a frightening reality. Our present-day health systems can't afford another AIDS.
I think there's a huge investment now in this country to not want to know there's another epidemic, because it's very possible that the progress of AIDS alone will sink the public health establishment in the country.
All of the systems in medical care are set up for people either getting well or dying. For example, doctors, they don't want to see chronically ill people. They can't do anything for them. They come back, they get sick again. They come back, they get sick again. They can't cure them.
In the case of a chronic disease, such as CFS, we have children who get this disease and people in their 20s. And if it goes on, I've had the disease 13 years.
The message to government regulators and business people is there'll be a lot of downtime of people not being able to report to work, therefore putting companies at risk. It's like the AIDS epidemic and everything else. When you have somebody trained for 20, 30 years to do a job and they can't perform this job, that's bad for the individual and it's bad for the environment they work in. So I think it's going to have a major toll.
The most important thing is to communicate that at NIH there is a commitment to find answers about this illness, and very serious work is going on. It's steadily increased from less than $500,000 in 1986 to more than $3 million in 1992.
I don't think a $3 million contribution from the NIH this year is a sincere commitment to a disease that's affecting 100,000 to 1 million people.
While the government has been slow to respond, CFS patients have not taken their illness lying down. In the early 1980s, they began to organize.
The CFS Foundation started when a group of my friends got together about 6 years ago and put on a little fundraiser in a living room and raised $1,000.
Since 1986, the Chronic Fatigue Immune Dysfunction Syndrome Foundation in San Francisco has been helping people with CFS. In addition to public education and policy development, the foundation offers telephone counseling and physician referrals to patients and their families.
He's in Charlotte, North Carolina.
For many people with CFS, the hotline provides the first understanding and support they have received since becoming ill.
No, you just want to feel better. You just want to feel like you can live, right?
Across the country in Charlotte, North Carolina, a former banker established the National CFS Association.
The CFS Association was really born out of desperation. Many patients, such as myself, went many, many years undiagnosed. And we decided that what we needed to do was establish legitimacy by funding research. This is a true grassroots effort. The people who have this disease have absolutely nothing in common but the disease. And all of us were at some point in time, at least in the early days, we were rejected by the medical profession. So we banded together, and it occurred all over the country. It's amazing. These support groups just popped up, and you know, there were hundreds of them 5 years ago, and there's 1,000 of them today.
One obvious target for support has been celebrities, including many who suffer from syphids.
My experience with celebrities who have this disease is primarily, not all of them, but with the majority, is that they're very unwilling to come forward because they're afraid of what it might do to their career.
I know a large number of people now that I didn't know before who had it, and they too kept it a secret. Lawyers, you know, a lot of my friends are in politics, you know, people with very serious careers who could not in any way show this weakness.
If somebody has $200 million, if they don't come up with at least $100,000 or $200,000 a year, I think they're nuts. It's not that I don't think they're socially irresponsible. That's a completely different issue. Certainly they're completely and totally socially irresponsible. But if you have money and you're not funding research, you're stupid. You're basically dumb.
On October 12, 1992, people with syphids held a rally for the first time at the International Biotechnology Exposition in San Francisco.
When I got down here, I saw the sign on the wall, the banner that says, "In memory of Jean Hardy." She's a CFS patient from North Carolina. She was featured on a CNN story, and she talked in that story about thinking about committing suicide because there was just no hope.
I can't wait to go to sleep at night so I can forget the pain.
And now it's become real. Just how long is it going to take before this whole street is full of black and white signs that say "In memory of"?
Why are you wearing photographs on your blouse?
This is my son, because he wants me to remember him. And the reason that I hang on, even though it's hard, is because I want to be around for him. I want to see him get married. I want to see him go to school. And there's a lot of times that I don't feel like I'm going to be able to do it. So,
But why does he think you might not remember him?
I guess because I forget a lot of things once in a while.
What are you doing here with the camera?
Oh, I wanted to take it back and share it with the rest of our support group. There's too many that are too sick to come.
I have one who couldn't come because she couldn't even bring her reclining wheelchair to be here. People are just too ill to attend. We've tried letter writing campaigns. They're too ill to write letters.
How many more people are sick, do you think, than are able to come today?
Oh, hundreds.
Why are you sitting? You look like it's just a nice day in the park.
I don't feel well enough to be standing up.
I'd like to stop hearing doctors say, if I believed in CFIDs, then we could do so-and-so. It's not a situation of believing in CFIDs. This is not the tooth fairy. It's not Christmas. CFIDs is a disease.
Well, I think that it's very possible that the kind of adversarial approach may have affected the willingness of many people to get involved in this field. I think there's no question about that.
Support groups that have formed around CFIDs have done more for bringing attention to this disease and to bring some support, although most of it private, to those of us who are researchers trying to define this and find a solution in therapy. They've rallied companies to take it seriously. And they've rallied politicians to recognize that this is a major issue.
They got the language of chronic fatigue into the budget hearings the last 2 years, and that was a real accomplishment.
Without that attention, we wouldn't be seeing any focus on this disease in the 1990s. Absolutely not.
In the fall of 1992, an International CFIDs Clinical Research Conference was held in Albany, New York. Organized by patient groups, the conference was attended by leading scientists from around the world. Finally, CFIDs was gaining legitimacy in medical circles.
Physicians or researchers are studying certain areas which are on the cutting edge of medical science. And chronic fatigue syndrome really comes to embody many of these.
We're working on understanding the immune system. We're working on understanding what cytokines do in autoimmune disease, in cancer, in AIDS, in many different disorders. So what we can do in advancing this understanding in terms of a disease like syphilis will have wide ramifications to diseases in general and to understanding how we can manipulate the immune system to help us instead of hurt us.